Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today is a very special episode. I'm bringing on Felipe Lopez Sustaita on the line, who's Associate Dean for the Center of Student Support at Lansing Community College. He's founder of Felipe Lopez Sustaita and Associates, and also author of You Can't Run from Your Destiny. Man, this book is the reason why Felipe was invited onto the show. He's a longtime friend, a frat brother, and hey, Felipe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Adam. Pleasure to be here with you, bro.
All right, so we got a lot to cover today. We're going to talk about your book. We're going to talk about why it took you so long to schedule and me to get you on the show. We'll get into a bunch of other things like that. But before we do, we'll start this episode the way we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So Felipe, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, experts, and entertainers. That's what we do. Felipe, what mission matters to you?
So for me, Adam, it's about my faith, right? But it's also about my family, my ancestors, and just amplifying their experiences, their voice in spaces where they're not represented, whether it's in government, whether it's in education, or whether it's just, in simple basketball, wherever I can use my voice to amplify our experience, I do that, man. And also of my faith, bro. Like without faith, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So all that put together is what matters to me. That's like, not taking anything with me to the grave, bro. Like just whatever gifts I have, give it out.
So first question here. What took you so long to book, man? I saw your book. I was excited. I'm like, man, I got to get Felipe on the show. And then I'm like, a month passed by and I'm like, wait, what's going on? Didn't we send the invite? Did you miss the invite?
Well, no, part of it is I knew I wanted to do it. I think it's just like the timing, right? The timing.
Yeah.
I was really busy.
I'm just pulling your leg, Felipe. I know, man. I'm just messing with you, but but seriously, when I saw the book released and I saw the cover and everything else, which was amazing, I was like, oh my gosh, because I knew a bit about your story, of course, because we're friends and we've known each other for a while, but I didn't know the full extent. So, I mean, I still remember going to go visit you and some of the things that were in the story. And the first time the only time I met your brother, and I'm looking up and I'm like, what? I didn't think they made Mexicans that tall. I didn't even know, and meeting your mother. And I think we were out there going, myself and Rudy were out there going, big shout out to Rudy, who's a good mentor and friend to many, including myself. And I remember just starting to understand your story a bit, but I never really kind of knew the full backstory, because when you're in college and otherwise, that doesn't always come up. But when I finally got to read the book and I got to know, let's just say, the full story, at least of what you shared up to that point, because I do know there's some other books that'll be coming up in the future, as I think you alluded to in the book itself. But that being said, what led you to finally writing the book and to finally getting the story out there?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Adam. And again, I live by faith, right? And so I'm a very private person. And so there's a lot of things too, like as men, as Latino men, there's all this, these things about machismo and men don't cry and all this stuff. And in the book, it literally took me years, bro, probably 12, 13 years, little by little. And you could see, man, it's rough. It's not a masterpiece by any form or way. There's in terms of the writing, that's 10, 12 years of me writing, putting stories together. And in there, I mentioned, man, that there was times where I was crying, thinking of things. So it was a healing process as well for me, because there's a lot of trauma that I think it's carried generation through generation. And so for me, it was important because there's not a lot of us in spaces of influence, right? And so it's important for us to tell our story because our stories matter. And so even a migrant kid, man, just, picking in the field, the stories matter. And if the way I saw it is, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? I can't be waiting for
Hmm.
someone else to do it. So
Hmm.
I kind of put it out there. Um, my wife hadn't even read it until like I released it, and she was
What? Are you
like,
serious?
nobody besides
Wow.
some of my two people that edited,
Hmm.
Dr. Saldivar, Samuel Saldivar, and this other gentleman, um, Joe. They both were the only ones that had access to like looking at this, like, but I
Hmm.
hadn't shared with anybody. Like, even my wife, my family were like, "Damn, there's some run-ons in there and whatever." I was like, "Look, this is who I am. I
Hmm.
can't change. Um, I wanted to be authentic to who I am and what I am, right?"
Hmm.
So,
Take us back. So in the story, I thought like, and I'm gonna pick out a couple of areas in here. And for the audience, hey, I want everybody to go pick up a copy of this book so you get the full story, of course. But some of the things that stuck out to me, especially, were some of the things in your earlier years. And I was thinking about the concept of just how you based on your size. So for everybody that's watching this, because you can't tell on video, how tall are you, Felipe? And you and like your sons and stuff like that, so people get an idea of what I'm talking about here, so they know I'm not crazy.
yeah. So I grew, like, by age 11, 12, I was already 6'1". I am six
Yeah,
one. I stopped growing after that. But, my son, 6'3". He just turned 14.
yeah.
And then my other son is about my size. He's 12 years old. I mean, we're
Mm,
very tall. My wife is tall, so I think they're gonna,
yeah,
hit 6'6", 6'7". Um, but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, size in the fields matters a lot, right? I mean, when you're a big set kid,
Hmm.
you almost pass as an adult, right? So you're doing adult things. People see that, they don't see the age
Yeah.
or anything. Yeah.
And in one part in the book, I remember you were talking about like your schedule. And I'm telling you, I was so obviously you were young at that point, like really young, but based on your size, you had the opportunity, and I say opportunity, to work as a man because you did, you were providing for your family as well. You were bringing money into the household, so you had that opportunity. But looking back, and I think about it, I'm like thinking about the idea that someone that young was working that much. It made me kind of step back, not just to some of the issues with that, but also to look at my own life and say, man, what am I complaining about? Like, it gave me a good amount of time to just be like, oh, poor me. I had a whole 10, 11, 12-hour day today in my, nice, cushy, air-conditioned studio. Like, okay, like, but what am I really talking about? So your book, to me, was just kind of a good revelation, really, in terms of like what's going on outside of my echo chamber, outside of my bubble. Maybe talk a little bit for the audience, so that haven't read the book yet, a little bit about those early years and what that looked like.
Yeah, man. And I started since I was a little boy, right? When
Hmm.
you're so, for anybody out there that is not familiar with farm workers, like,
Hmm.
farm workers, anytime you're having a wonderful salad, or you're eating a cutie or an orange, there's
Yeah.
people out there, um, that are doing this, picking onions. Actually, right now as we speak, right, those strawberries that you get at whatever store you go to,
Hmm.
Whole Food, like, there's people out there barely getting paid anything. There's no unions. When the pandemic hit, they didn't get to, like me and you, right, Adam? We got to work
Hmm.
from home, turn on the
Yeah.
internet. Like, these folks were dying, right? There was no access to anything, and if you were undocumented, you were even in back of the line.
Mm.
Um, but those days, I didn't know any better, right? Like, that was my life. Like, I grew up. Um, just as a farm worker, right? So I
Yeah.
didn't know anything else besides, okay, we're moving to Texas and we're going to Tennessee, and
Hmm.
then we did a stint in Georgia and then Michigan,
Yeah.
and we just worked, bro. And
Yeah.
but what you were talking about was when I turned 11, 12 years old.
Hmm.
Um, that's when I became a man, right? Like, there's
Hmm.
the minor leagues and the major leagues. That's when
Yeah.
I became
When
a
you went
man.
pro.
Yeah, that's when I went pro, right? And and yeah, man, I mean, because of my size, and I write in the book, right, that I was
Hmm.
blessed to everything. My skin color, my size
Yeah.
was designed perfectly for my mission because when I was there, I was with grown men, and my
Mm-hmm.
day would start, 5:30, 6 a.m. I was already in the fields, right, in the
Yeah.
shakers, and would go all day till 5 p.m. Then run, like literally run a few miles to the packing house, and then work till 2 a.m. Wait, my brother Luis would give me a ride home and do it all day, every single day, man. And I did
Yeah.
that for several years in the summers in the blueberries, picking oranges, picking
Mm-hmm.
apples, um, everything, man, peppers. Like it was hard.
Yeah.
And when people see me and they're like, oh, this guy's successful, like whatever, right? Um, there's a price you pay, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
price. I just mentioned all these other things. My dad had a heart attack, man, at 11 years old. He couldn't come anymore. My mother couldn't come,
Mm-hmm.
and so now you add the element that you don't have your mom and dad with you, and you're
Yeah.
out there like grinding, bro. And yes, you lose faith and hope because you're out in the fields looking like, damn, there's what am I gonna do, right? Like this is my
Mm-hmm.
life. Um, but I learned a lot of valuable lessons in that, like
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, how to be grateful for the little things. Like I'm not afraid to take risk and lose everything because we come from nothing, right? So
Yeah.
um, so yeah, there's a huge, and I didn't write about a lot of that stuff because there's so much to write about,
Yeah.
but
And
man,
you're one of the things that still shine through in the book, and I know you for being a pretty positive guy either way, and always grateful to God, and God every chapter you mentioned God multiple times, every single chapter, and you thank God, which I thought was very congruent, and it just matches what you say about being faith-based, and not comparing one book to another, but just saying in general, when you see an author do that, it just shows it's very intentful. You didn't have to do that, but you were very eloquent in thanking God many times, multiple times per chapter. But one of my favorite lines in the book, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher this, but it was your spirit comes through, because I never heard anybody say anything like this in my life, Felipe. And that was, you were like the Michael Jordan of the field. And I was like, come on, my boy. Like even through it all, like you wanted to be your best. Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, bro. And when we talked, yeah, man. For I'm a huge basketball fanatic, but for those
Hmm.
people out there that are soccer fanatics, I'm the Lionel Messi, right? I'm the
Yeah.
Julio Cesar Chavez. Like you have to have that dog in you, right? Even
Hmm.
today, like I'm a very mild manner, um, very tranquilo. Like
Hmm.
I'm not boasting. I'm not like, look at me, I'm how big I am or what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, but it's that humility, bro. And I think people lose themselves when they start thinking they're all that and more than anything. I
Hmm.
always praise God when I wake up, and everything that I do, I get
Hmm.
direct orders from Him. Like, and whenever something amazing happens to me, like I get an award or something, I'm just like, all glory to Him. Let's keep working, right? You
Hmm.
celebrate for a few minutes. You're like, thank you, because
Yeah.
you have to be thankful. But then you move on, right, and continue to do the work. So I'm
Hmm.
not gonna say I'm like a super religious person,
Yeah.
but I am a very spiritual person. I do teach catechism. I do, make sure that my kids understand that there's a higher power for them.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm not gonna say like, oh, I'm super
Yeah.
religious, because I'd be lying. But
Yeah.
like I said, I do pray every morning. That's one thing that I never miss.
Hmm.
Before I look at my phone, before I talk to anybody, I have my alone time with Him,
Hmm.
and that's what carries me, bro. Like just
Yeah.
that.
Let's go to the college years. The college years to me, like, because part of what I knew you for obviously was in college. That's where we met. But you never know when somebody's going through the college experience, like what's going on behind the scenes. And some of the things that you went through, like, and even just I want to pick out one specific, because I'm hoping that this also inspires others that are in college going through the same thing, or maybe even feeling that bit of loneliness. But talk about some of what you talked about in the book about, experiencing and being away at school during the holidays. And because I feel like that's a big deal.
Yeah, man. And it's already hard to be homesick, right? But
Yeah.
it's a different level when you don't have any friends, right? Like, I mean, you know Froggy, you know Juan, like these guys, I came across
Shout
them.
out Juan, shout out Froggy. Come on, we love Froggy and
Hey,
Juan. Go ahead.
Juan, happy birthday, bro! It's his birthday today.
Ah, come on, good job.
But you know, these guys, I had met them, but I didn't really establish a relationship. I was so antisocial. I was so angry, right? I was
Yeah,
so angry at the system, the way we've been treated, the way farmers had treated us, the way schools had treated us. I was so angry, and I probably, I was so angry, man. If I would have kept that same energy, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I'm not the same
yeah.
person I was back then. I had to learn, but it was ignorance, right? I think sometimes systems are designed for us to just
Hmm.
have that kind of hatred, and so it was really hard, man. It was a lonely. I didn't really start talking to people until my junior year, until my father passed. But
Hmm.
it was just me and my sister Myra. Like that was my friend.
Yeah,
But Myra even left me, man. And Thanksgiving, that's when I was there, fully alone with no food, and
because the cafeteria is closed and everything's
no,
closed, so that's no food. Yeah,
no food, no cell phone. Back in the day in 2001, you couldn't afford a cell phone or a computer, none of that. So you're there straight up, just stranded in Case Hall.
yeah.
So it was. I mean, it made me want to quit, right? And I'm a pretty tough guy, like working and everything. But that almost drove me nuts because. Um, Yeah, and we hear of these things, right, Adam? Like people
Hmm.
commit suicide or they lose their stuff and then just quit. So it took a lot of, and I was only like 16 years old, bro. Like as a
Yeah.
freshman there, like not only was I not fully, I think, developed in terms of maturity, but I was
Hmm.
angry and all that mix um, is by the grace of God,
Hmm.
man, that I got through.
Talk about the homies Thanksgiving. Am I saying it right? That's the
Yeah,
right
yeah,
name?
the homies giving, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, so that came about out of pain, right? Out of like
So what is
being
it? Let's start there. Let's start there. What is it?
so it's a Thanksgiving dinner for Michigan State students that don't have anywhere to go, or they're international, or they're in-state, whatever it is.
Mhm. Which there's
Um,
a lot of them. There's a
a
lot
lot
of them
of
that experience what Felipe is talking about. Go ahead. Mhm.
Yeah, and I'll give a shout out to Juan because yes, I started the event in 2003. It's been going 20, 21 years now, and
Amazing.
now it's serving. The university finally took it over a few years ago,
Hmm.
um, but it serves anywhere from 700 to 1,000 people on a yearly basis, and Juan has kept that going, bro. He's put in the work. He's
Hmm.
kept on going for so many years. So I want to give him, proper respect for him. Yes.
Yeah.
When I started it, it was just this idea of like bringing like, I don't know, 30, 40 people together. And then it
Hmm.
just became bigger and bigger. But so many people played a role in that. But again, you don't have to be a billionaire. You don't have to be anything. Like sometimes pain gives birth to amazing things, right? Like look at you now, like Mission Matters, right? It's a global thing that you're doing. You're giving people opportunity to tell their stories, and it was probably birth out of pain, man, out of like this urge or urgency or this idea to fulfill your mission in this earth, right? And you could have easily, like I tell my kids, like God sometimes gives you one coin, he gives you two coins, or sometimes he gives you five. Some people bury their gift
Hmm.
and just take it with them. Other people multiply, right? And that's what you're doing, what I'm doing, right? Telling our story and allowing
Hmm.
others to tell their story.
So talk about your work now. Like as you've gone through and gotten, I don't know, every degree there is. I think because when you talk about like, so if we look at the cover, gotta hold it up again. Like I'm so proud to see you wearing the garb, like, because it's true. From migrant worker to where you're at now. Like talk a little bit about where you're at now, because there is a happy ending in here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, Yeah, I mean, and you see the lines, right? Like,
Yeah.
man, I earned all those. Like, it was a very difficult journey, from somebody that was literally could hardly read and write, right? To working super hard. Um, so I wouldn't be here if it wasn't, for my father's death,
Mm.
that really propelled me to go for that doctor degree and having this obsession, right?
Hmm.
Um, this obsession that they would have to drag me dead, that I wasn't gonna leave,
Yeah.
that I was gonna do everything in my power, and it's a law of attraction, really. Like, what you put out to the universe is what you receive. And so everything that I have now, it's
Hmm.
manifested through things that I was dreaming, bro, really, when I was in the fields. And look, I write about looking up in the sky, looking at airplanes, right? And
Mm.
all this manifestation. And so what I'm doing now, so I'm an associate dean at a community college, and I oversee 6 units. Um, Title IX, there's ADA compliance, counseling, student life, like
Mm.
things that for people like us should have never happened, right?
Mm.
I also was able to be in the political office, right? In terms of like representing all the Latinx people in the state of Michigan,
Mm.
and advising 2 governors, both Republican Democrats, in a time where there was a pandemic, where there was a Flint crisis, water crisis, so
Hmm.
much stuff. But God prepares you for everything, right?
Hmm.
If you would have put me in there when I was younger, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Just like this job, I couldn't do
Yeah.
it, and so. Um, and I'm speaking, I go and speak at different universities, businesses. Um, and what I sell, just like you, bro, is hope, right?
Mm.
Hope that it doesn't matter where you start, it's about where you're going, and the kind of grit and the kind of things that you want to manifest, right?
Hmm.
And so, I went from not being able to read to like reading a book a week, right? Like, and being consistent about it, right? Like, being not only just reading, but applying to my life what I'm reading, right? And so,
Hmm.
um, if man, like I said, I'm becoming more dangerous as the days go, right? As I'm reading and I'm like, wow, okay. And my kids are even, um, benefiting from all this, right? Because
Hmm.
I'm teaching them as I'm driving them to school, as
Yeah.
we're just working, bro.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I'm so proud of you, Felipe, and I know there's people watching this that they're leaning into this story and also into this book. So that being said, if somebody wants to follow up and follow your work, follow you, and also pick up a copy of the book, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways, right? You can go to Amazon and order the book directly from Amazon,
Okay.
or you can go to my website, which is FLS and Associates at gmail.com, and you can just send me an email through my website,
Mm.
and I'd be more than happy to sign a copy for anybody, or jump on the phone, right? If anybody. And that's
Yeah.
the beauty, Adam. I think of, like, when I published it, there was folks from like Africa, from other countries, like reaching out.
Mm.
Like, you just never know, man. Like, if you don't put yourself out there, like, you just never know, right? And the impact that it has, regardless of race, of ethnicity, of gender. um, yeah, we're all human, man, and we all bleed, and we all suffer, and we all cry.
Mm.
And so so those are the 2 forms, either Amazon, or you can reach out directly. Another
Mhm.
thing too, like on social media, if you want to follow me, it's Lion Chaser
Mhm.
84. That's on Instagram, or just my name, Felipe Lopez Sustaita,
Mm.
in Facebook. And then I'll also say this, um, because I'm a trailblazer, man. Um,
Mhm.
like, I started posting, right, being very intentional. I'm not
Mhm.
posting, for likes. I'm not posting for all that. I am really posting because, for the 10 people that follow me, right, that are really loyal.
Mm.
It's helping them, but it's helping me too. right? Like if I can't do it for 10 people, how can God trust me with when I hit the millions?
Yeah.
He can't trust me, right? If I'm not consistent, like I know it's a test, right? And so when I post and I get 5 likes, it's all good because it's not, it's for the Most High. He's
Yeah.
preparing me for the millions. And so if you don't understand that game, then it's hard for you to fulfill your destiny, right? Because it is lonely at the top. It's less crowded, but it's hard, man. And there's a price you pay. And if you're not willing to pay that price, man, get off the kitchen, right? Or get out of the field.
And that's a great way. That's a great way to end it. If you're not willing to pay the price, hey, get out the kitchen. I'm in.
Yeah.
And for everybody watching this, just so you know, we'll put links in the show notes so that you can follow up and grab a copy of the book. Definitely want you to pick that up. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and the first time engaging in an episode, if you need an invitation, here it is. Hit that subscribe button. We have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Don't worry, the subscribe button's not going to bite you. It's okay. Just hit it. You'll be okay. Felipe, seriously, thank you so much for making some time and finally coming on the show. We appreciate all you're doing, and I wish you much more continued success with your book and in life.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam. Appreciate it, brother.